Okay, so before we get started with drawing, you're going to need to make one of these, the accordion, the folded accordion. So what I want you to do is to take a piece of paper off of your pad, put that over there. Okay. You're going to fold the paper in half lengthwise. Try and get it as even as possible. Okay. Then you're going to fold it in lengthwise one more time. Try and get it nice and even. I did not look. I didn't quite. I'm going to fix that. See if I can fix that. Well, not the best, but then you're going to make an accordion. So what you'll do is you'll fold it one way and then make a nice hard crease there. And fold it again back so it's at the same width. And I like to really press down on my creases. And fold it back again like this. Come back again. You see what I'm doing? And then come back again. Fold it evenly. And then come back one more time. Now you'll see I ended up with this one is shorter than the others. So that's going to be a little bit of a problem. Maybe, maybe not. And then when you, let me open it up, then when you look at it, I want you to look at these edges. Okay? What I want to do is just show you how to get started drawing this accordion fold of paper. All right? So as I showed you before, you need to look at every bit of the piece that you're going to draw, whatever it's going to be. You need to take a little bit of time and look at it. Here you'll see that you've got lines that are pretty much parallel to each other. We've got 3 on the top and we've got 4 on the bottom, right? And each one of these is making kind of like a little tent, all right? If you can imagine, it almost looks like army tents next to each other. This line, these lines are all pretty parallel. They're not exactly, but they're close enough to make that assumption. Then when you get farther along in the drawing, you can start to see whether maybe you should have had this one curve out a little bit or curve in a little bit. But for now, we want to look at it that way. The other thing we want to look at too is the light. So look at how bright it is right here on the top where the light is hitting it, all right? And then here, let's see if we just turn it this way, you can see this side is brighter than this side because this is in shadow. Sometimes we're going to have 2 lights. In fact, I'm going to turn off one light and see what difference that makes. All right, so let's see. Now we've got a completely different light source that's happening. We have over behind here is a window. Over here is a window, and then I also added a ring light so that we get more light. Look at these dramatic shadows that are happening. So when you start drawing, I want you to look at these things and decide, do you want to do it like that, so you have these long shadows coming? Do you want to do it maybe like this, so that the shadows are pretty much closer to the object or not? How far away do you want to be looking at it? So I am choosing to draw it from this angle. I've got these dramatic shadows that are happening here, right? If you wanted to learn more about it, let's just say you took this piece of paper and you put it on top of it, and you could actually kind of trace these shadows to really educate yourself about what is happening with them. Look at how far out they come. And then look at how there's another shadow that kind of comes around. It's a little bit soft here. Of course, when my hand goes in front of it, you lose it. Look at the shadow that you got over here. Look look what's happening over here, right? Look at how, why don't we go ahead and mark where each one of these things is. Okay. And then let's sort of mark where that one is. It's right sort of on the center. This one's a little bit farther over. Okay. So now look what we've got here. This is actually informing us about this shape. Okay. Now I'm going to, instead of using that, I'm going to actually start drawing it this way. I'm going to put it back a little bit farther so I can get my pad in there. So hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Okay. I want to have a line that goes like that. So I'm going to actually put, that's the direction I want the line to be. I'm going to move over here, right? I'm going to take another pencil, and I'm going to just sort of mark that line, all right? That's the direction I want it to be. I'm going to put a mark for where this one hits, a mark for where that one hits. This next one's a little bit wider, and then that one, right? And then this point right here is not dead center. It's a little bit up here, so I'm going to go up, and then it's a little bit longer there, but then this one is more in the center. So I'm going to go up and down that way, right? And then this one is from the point, my point of view, it's a little bit over that way. So I'm going to, instead of dead center, I'm going to just bring it over a little, bring it up, and then have a longer line here. Now how do I determine where these lines are going to go? Do they go this way? Do they go that way? Do they go that way? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my pencil there. Then I'm going to take another pencil, and I'm going to put it right where that would be. And I can see from my point of view that this thing is on the right side of my pencil, okay? So now I'm going to come over here. I've got this pencil in this direction. I'm going to go straight up like that, and I know it comes over here. It's going to be over to about there. How long is it in relation to that? Well, that's something you have to figure out. What's going to happen to this line? Where does this hit on there? So where does this line come up? So you just kind of play with it a little bit. Now, these lines are probably going to be pretty parallel. This is probably going to be pretty parallel. This is probably going to be pretty parallel, right? So you can see now what I'm trying to do is to maintain that sense of parallel, right? So that is kind of giving me the beginning of my form. So I want you to work on that, get this good form in here. Maybe this one was a little too high. Let's bring it down to there. All right. How does that look? Let's see. That looks pretty much like it, you know? I mean, it's the camera's view and my view. I'm a whole foot over to the right, so it's not going to look quite the same. Then I want to look at these shadows. Look at how this shadow is almost a perfectly straight line. From my point of view here, the shadow comes in to about here, and then comes to that point. And the same thing is happening on that next one. Kind of comes in at an angle, right? But then on the last one, it's really almost straight. So my dark areas are gonna I'm just gonna lay them in there. I'm not gonna go crazy with them. I just want to see what's happening. How do I feel about it? What happens when I make my lines go in different directions? Does that affect how my eye is seeing it? All right, so we've just kind of blocked it out. now we've got these things that are coming this way. And I'm kind of seeing them come out. It's almost like it's almost a straight line, this line to there. This comes forward a little bit. So it would be maybe to about there, maybe not quite so that much of an angle. And then there's another one that's here, but you see light is coming from that window, so it's creating a different kind of shadow there. And this one is kind of like that, but then this one is out here. Isn't that funny how that's happening? Here's another shadow over here. So how do I do that? I think I'm going to do it by just going very lightly here, just to see if I have the right shapes. See what's starting to happen. Okay, and then when I think, all right, I think I have the right shapes, I think what I can do is I can start bringing in here, making this a little bit darker. So you see this line right here is kind of dark. And so when you bring dark up to a dark, if they don't end up meeting as the same darkness, then you're going to be in trouble. I'm going to lighten that line a little bit. In fact, I might just go over a lot of my lines and just lighten them up so that I don't have to bring my shadow to the same dark that I made that line. Okay? I think that's going to help me a little bit. Then here is a really good trick. See this line right here? I want to make that a straight line. Instead of using a ruler, I'm going to take a piece of paper and line it up. And then I'm going to do my gray for the shadow there. And what it does is it just, naturally creates a good straight line. See that? That's a good trick. You can do that with erasing too. All right. Okay. Now, as I've said before, getting in a nice dark, laying in a nice dark, it's not always that easy. And what happens where this gray here comes in? I'm seeing a little bit of a line that comes, that this paper is coming out that way somehow. I'm going to bring this gray in here. One good thing is that I've already laid down this dark gray. So if I bring my lines over that a little bit, you're not going to see it. So I can be a little bit looser there. Also, look at how there's like this little bit of a dark right there. Okay. So I want you to really look at this and see, how do you get that feeling? How about if we take our, where did I put it? I have a bigger one. Let me look for it. Sorry, I left my blender in the other room. So I'm going to bring my blender in here a little bit and just pull out some of that gray a little bit out of that line. And look and see what I can get. Some kind of interesting extra little grays that are there. But you see when I said before I wanted to erase those lines, that line is getting in the way. Bit. this line right here and this one are not as hard edge as others. So you can really kind of play with that a little bit. And you can come in and play a little bit with this darker gray and blend it. And you can even blend this dark. Now notice my hand is moving over my drawing. I'm going to put this paper here so I don't smudge my drawing with my hand as it moves. Well, it's starting to look like it. Now what happens here? I see a shadow there coming in. It's not quite there. All right, and then I see some dark under here, even darker. See that shadow comes there, and then it gets white again, but it does gradate a little bit. And we've got the dark going on here again. So this is how you draw. You want to really investigate what's happening. You want to look at it now. From where I'm looking right now, this shadow ends right here. It ends right there. So I am going to come in and erase some of this. And that is the light shining through from the other side. And again, when you got to this point, you want to start thinking about using something to remove. Yeah, it's kind of. Now, this edge is a little too much of a line there, so I'm going to go darker so that my edge meets that. And I'm not sure that's working or not. I don't think it is. It's not. I think I made a mistake there. Okay, I'm going to come back in with that gray. We'll just make it that gray. No, I'm going to come back. I don't like what I did. I don't think it worked. Come back in with a softer pencil, make it darker. Okay. All right, see what's happening now? That's how we work with this. Now I can see here that is definitely. Let's see what happens if I just play around with that a little bit. What happens? It starts to look like you would have to see the line of there. And it would start to look like that a little bit. Let's bring this in a little bit here. And now it's starting to look like that. See? It's just starting to. So you have to just keep playing. What I want you to do is investigate before you start erasing, before you start drawing. I want you to really look at what's happening. I want you to decide if you like what's happening, if you want to change your source of light. Let's just say you wanted your light to get brighter. Bring your light closer if you want that. You set it up the way you want it, the way you see it. And I would suggest that you try and get the simplest shadows that you can to start, because shadows are pretty hard to do. And see what happens. My light just fell over. And let's see what happens. All right? Thank you guys. And I will talk to you on Wednesday.